Hello and welcome to Council Wrap. I'm Wes Decker, and I'm honored to be joined by the mayor of Hagerstown, Tekesha Martinez. And Mayor, I think the concept that you had for State of the City, which is the topic that we are going to talk about here, was a rousing success. Certainly internally, the council members were jacked about this. I mean, from the beginning, I think some were like, wait a minute, I have an assignment. How's this going to work? But in the end, your vision played out perfectly.
Yeah, I think that leaving the option for people to be creative a lot of time creates for when we're this, age, and I'm saying adults, right? When we're this age, or you're thinking like there's no way I could be creative. Like I need more in order to make this work. And so kind of the fun and the stress of asking people to be creative is answering questions, but also leaving that like, I kind of want to make sure that it's you. And so for me, it was kind of like, if I can inspire them to be creative and get how they feel as though the ground is good or how they feel as though Hagerstown is growing, then that is the state of the city.
And for me, it's very interesting because I've heard you talk about good ground so many times. And as you expressed this morning at the event, when you initially said Hagerstown was good ground, it's something you did not believe. And I'm always amazed by this transformation that you went through from the first time that you said that to what it truly means to you now.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. And when I said it, I don't even know why I said it. Actually, it started being quoted on social media, and I'm not someone that goes back and looks and watches what I say or what I do. That's part of being a performance poet. I just don't watch my stuff because I feel like I would try to control too much if I did and control my performance. And the performance is to make people feel emotion. Yeah. And so it's kind of interesting because I didn't say it and mean it at that moment, but the meaning started to come alive.
Right.
And I remember getting sworn in, I think it was our strategic planning, I believe, was the first time that I seen like the emblem, which was and it's the seal, right?
That's right.
And I seen that and I was like,
what is that?
And I mean, my inquisitive mind and wanting to know what it is, so I Googled, what is the official like seal? And it's a sheaf of wheat. And I thought, wow. And so in my budget book, I remember my first budget book, I sat up there and I colored in that wheat. It just started to come alive that the ground was good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the day that we had the meeting in there. I didn't say, let's call it good ground. Scott did.
Yeah, and you sort of had a concept that lended itself to that, but at the same time, no, you did not use those exact words. That's true. And the funny thing is, and I guess ironic thing, and maybe the thing that really is interesting when you get right down to this, what room were we sitting in when we talked about this?
The Burhan's room.
Yes.
The Burhan's room. And so the coloring in of that, it led me down a path.
Right.
It led me down a path to find out, okay, so Jonathan Hager, why did he choose this? So that's like, as soon as I'm at home and I'm researching, okay, so close to the Potomac River, close to this. So I'm starting looking like, oh wow, the ground is really good, right? And then we get to another point. I walk in the Burhan's room one day, and I think I was given a tour. I like to give tours.
I've heard you give many. Because I sit right outside there, so I've heard you many times.
Yeah, and I never paid attention to that Declaration of Unity until this specific, and it wasn't, I can't remember who it was, but it was a specific tour. And I thought, whoa, so that led me into research, who is Mayor Burhan's? And I'm like, wait, every time Hagerstown has had like this growth, and maybe there's other times, right? But these are the times that stood out to me.
Right.
Jonathan Hager and Mayor Burhan's. And I mean, it's evident the ground is good.
Yeah. And I've heard people have said to me since they saw the video this morning, I never knew this or I never knew that as it relates to Hagerstown from an historic perspective. So you're already educating people if that was part of the goal as far as this video is concerned. And I think really, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think that was part of your mindset.
That
was that you learned, so let me impart some of that knowledge to others, because we can never go forward without understanding what's happened in the past. How have we gotten to where we are?
Yeah.
And those are the things that stand out to you. There are many other things. There are many other things that people could go and research, but those things for you were the components, the items, the things that have really pushed you forward. And I think how has that helped you when you look back on what Mayor Burhans has done as someone who came in as the mayor at a time where, you probably weren't thinking to yourself, hey, during this term, while I'm here for 4 years, at some point I'll be the mayor. So, I mean, how have you drawn from what you've read about Mayor Burhans? Some of it's pretty obvious from what's in the video, but just overall, what's that experience been like for you in order to help you operate as the mayor that you've been during the time that you've been mayor?
Yeah. So history is important for different reasons. And I think that a lot of times we forget that the most important reason is so that you understand where you can't be offended at. And so for me, it taught me, as I learned more about the history of Hagerstown, and it taught me that I can't be offended and say something never happened if I never looked or found out if it did. And so I wanted folks to understand that I stood outside and said Hagerstown is good ground, but I didn't believe it. But when I came in, it was kind of evident to me. And the reason why is because Mayor Burhans was the mayor during a time where the city was segregated, where the nation was segregated.
Right.
And at the same time, we talk about how there were 56 businesses on Jonathan Street. And I think that it's important, and I didn't specifically talk about those things because I want people to understand you have to go read. You can't take my word for it. You can't take your word. So you have to go find out, because if not, I could have took on everyone else's offense, and me and my family could still be out there saying Hagerstown, but not really knowing, and so to see that 56 businesses were on Jonathan Street at a time where Mayor Burhans was the mayor, that annexations, that development was happening, that meant that he understood the importance of bringing folks together, the importance of having an open door, and inviting people in. And so for me in this seat, I think that it's important that I don't just come and only bring my perspective, my experience, what I've gone through, because then that would make everyone around me take on the things that I take personal.
Right.
And I wanted to, in a way that didn't too much push people into a thought, I wanted to provoke thought.
Yes.
And I also wanted to make sure that people felt something. And if you felt inspired, great. If you felt offended, great. If you felt, I wanted people, you have to feel something. Because if not, then we just become numb to numbers and data,
Right.
and we forget that there's stories and that there's things, and that there's very personal things that we all have.
Right. And I think that's part of the beauty of the video itself, because we have the personal perspectives of the council members. And you talk about emotions being involved. You told me after State of the City that you were emotional at times watching the video, which was really your brainchild in large part, and yet you were emotional. So what was it that kind of got to you? What were some of the things that made you feel that way?
Well, it was the cohesive. It looked like we planned it. I mean, and we kind of did, but we didn't,
But
right?
didn't. That's right.
But it was the way that it came out, the story. Like when I seen Councilmember Schindler come on screen, and I heard him, kind of talking about the things that are happening downtown, it was his voice.
Yeah.
It was authentically how he feels about that. When I seen Councilmember Perini, and he's talking about the water, and he's talking about learning different things, in just a short period of time, that sounded like him. That was from his perspective. I'm looking at Councilwoman McIntyre, and I'm like, wow. Like, she knew how to get it done. She understood the assignment. She understood it. Councilwoman Burnett, I mean, how profound is that?
Yeah.
To see her standing where a fire trucks is at her police department. She's the highest vote getter of the city. I mean, it's clear that her leadership is impeccable and that it matters. And so, Councilmember Alshire, for me, I sat beside him as a councilwoman. And so I think that for me, it's important that people know that me sitting beside him means a lot of things rubbed off, right? The ability to not push up and be so emotional, kind of set back. Hearing the council from their perspective was important. Our former council member and mayor, who's not here, Bob Brucey, I don't think people understood how much honor I have for him. And how much we rode together most Tuesdays just so that we could have that, you know, regardless if I'm sitting across from the table from him and we ride together, he knows, you know, and so I think that that was important for that to come out today. I got emotional with all of it. Jacob, I said Jacob Eaton, Stephen Brockmiller with the house on Bethel Street. I grew up 128 West Bethel Street. And so that was the family that raised me. The Turner family was right there. We're talking 3 doors away. I mean, how amazing. I sat there and I was like, I knew the history, but to see it in the room, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah, and you know, I think when you look at that overall body of work, one of the things that stands out to me is that you have council members talking about things that they made their own. You know, you kind of gave them, hey, here's the subject or whatever it is, but they truly made it their own. And I think that's what resonates so much with people. As you said, I mean, we hear their voices, but it's really a microcosm of the way that this body functions. And that brings me to this question, because there's been upheaval within the body in terms of changes, those challenges that have happened. How do you quantify the way that has played out in your mind? Again, with you ascending to be the mayor of Hagerstown, changes within the council. I mean, we look at Councilmember Schindler, who's been here for just over a year at this point. You mentioned Councilmember Perini, who's very new to the council at this juncture, and yet we had such a cohesive video. I mean, so, you know, what does that mean to you? How does that happen?
I think that it speaks to what this administration wanted to do and get accomplished, which was the administration goals.
Yeah.
And so when we sat down together 4 years ago, I believe that all of us meant what we said, and we meant what we heard. You know, what we heard come back, the feedback that came back from our constituents, we made a plan and we meant that. And so there have been a lot of changes. I mean, we're talking about just the elected body, but the staff as well.
That's exactly
I
right.
mean,
Yep.
Wes, Janet and I started together. And so you go from Danny, who'd been with the mayor and council, you know, who kind of knew all the things
That's right.
for 30 years, and now
Yeah.
you got someone new that's coming in, and I don't think that people understood what that meant we had to do,
Yeah.
you know, and that means you have to collaborate. You kind of have to lean on each other. You have to grace each other. You have to be under, I think what it means to me, I haven't been a part of any other administration. So it's normal for me. It was normal. It's normal that you have change and you still get it done, that
Yeah.
you stay on task, that just because I've gone from council to the mayor doesn't mean I'm going to change the vision, right? For me, it was about integrity. I signed up to do with this elected body. If you guys vote me and appoint me to mayor, I will keep that. It was about that for me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what this elected body represents. All the change, new fire chief, new city engineer.
City engineer, that's right,
I mean,
yeah.
first time where firefighters were sworn in happened under this administration.
Right.
The amount of development that's happening under staff changes. I mean, I think this speaks volumes to an administration that makes it happen, no matter what.
I want to go back to one thing from this morning. Councilmember Alshire talked about the Q&A session, And I just want to get your take on one particular question, because as I heard it, and obviously I'm not one to answer the question up there, but the one question had to do with, how is the city going to handle safety and security with the new stadium opening? And to me, I'm thinking, well, if you have more people all in one place, and most of the events are going to be baseball games, there will be other events too, for sure. But if most of the events are baseball games, I don't think baseball fans are really known for being violent, for causing major issues. And if you have a lot of people in one place, isn't that what had been talked about for a long time with this administration? I know Councilmember McIntyre talked about it, and that's feet on the street. Yeah. So the more people who are in one place, ostensibly, that means that it's safer, because people really aren't going to commit crimes when there are a bunch of people around. So I thought that was a strange question, because to me, that's a deterrent to crime, to have all of these people in one place.
Yeah, I agree. Again, conflict resolution's my thing.
Of course.
And I can remember hearing people say, how can we create more things to be more active in downtown? I mean, I was facilitating a conversation with like 50 people at the library every month, and we were leaving at 9 o'clock at night. And I remember it being like, well, I'm part of this circle, but how can we make it so more people come out? And I'm like, okay, now we're making it, and now there's development. I mean, I ride through the city at nighttime, and I see more people on the street.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that says community is safe. I think that creates an element of safety.
Right.
However, people's feelings around their safety is a personal thing. If I go home and I see something that's suspicious in my neighborhood, all of a sudden I may not feel safe, because for the last 7 years I didn't notice that thing. And so I think also making sure that people feel heard in what they're feeling, but then redirect it, right?
Right, yeah.
That you may not feel safe because of something that may have happened to someone that you heard about 5 years ago, but can you show me where you don't feel safe yourself downtown? And a lot of times people can't tell. And I ask people that. I asked them, I say, meet me downtown. Meet me, what time would you like to? Well, don't meet me at midnight, because who is downtown at midnight? We're not, but meet me at downtown for dinner. Meet me downtown at 8 o'clock at night. And show me where you may not feel safe.
Yeah.
So a feeling safe is one thing, but is it safe? I think that is based on who you talk to. I mean, I talk to a lot of women who are like, I walk through the streets all the time and I don't feel unsafe. But then I talk to some men that are just like, it's not safe downtown.
Right.
I'm like, it just depends on who you
Yeah,
talk to.
and you're right. It is that individual perspective, and it's all about perception, as we talk about so much. And maybe that question was really just born out of change, because people do fear change to some degree.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have this stadium coming, what's going to change? Oh, now maybe I should be a little fearful of this. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But I want to end on a real positive note with this, because I think anybody who hasn't seen the video, first of all, they should carve out some time in their schedule to watch the video. I think it is well worth it. And I just want to ask you, what are you most proud of at this point? I mean, you still have more time as mayor, obviously, but to this point in time, what are you most proud of?
The end of the video, great idea. Thank you. I mean, that's the goal, right? The goal is to have people come outside of their box and get comfortable and feel safe with you. And so I feel, I'm serious about the end of the video. I'm most proud of that, because that was kind of like, kind of getting Councilmember Alshire to kind of maneuver along with something that, kind of had me and him.
Yes.
Represent in our relationship, right? Which is a very fun one at times. As far as what am I most proud about and what would I like to see done, I am proud that I didn't hijack the entire administration or council or the 4 years based off of all my controversial stuff. I'm very proud of myself that I have been able to be a great team player. I feel proud about that because I'm very passionate, I'm very principled, and I'm very, I'm firm. Like, I have strong convictions in specific things. So anytime I can play a part of a team and I don't hijack it and take it over and make it about, like, I'm proud of that. What I'd like to see us get done in the last 8 months is Field House, of course. I know we may not get to the opening part, but wrapping that in a bow
Right.
would be amazing to me. Another thing is that this becomes the model. And I don't mean every administration, every person that comes in should do this like Shelley or like me, or no. I just think that it should be a collaborative process. I think that people that get elected should come in willing to hear, understand, learn about your colleagues. I would like to see us make sure that we're more adamant that we're not giving up our seats or these positions to people who aren't going to come in and do it better. And I don't know if you're going to get that.
Wow, that's a strong way to close out. But no, it's been a good day. State of the City, I think, was a success. I mean, heck, the Chamber of Commerce was filled to the gills there at the Maryland Theater. That was a capacity audience this morning. And again, if you haven't seen the video, we invite you to go look at that. It's on City of Hagerstown Facebook page. It's on the YouTube channel. And always appreciate it when the mayor gives me some time. And appreciate you talking about this afterwards because, again, I think it's a vision that a lot of people are like, man, how is this going to work? How is this going to come together? And then, boom.
But people say that whenever I do a community poem too. You know, I do a community poem at open mic, and I just pass it around, and people, I'll be up there hosting, and I'll see people reading the whole, and I'll say, hey,
Yeah.
that's not what you're supposed, that wasn't the rule. The rule was not for you to go up and read
Right.
what everyone wrote and make your part or your piece of this fit in. That, to me, is unauthentic.
Yeah.
The authenticity is that you write your part and do your part, and then it all flows together. That's how community works. And so I knew that it was going to be fine because these are processes and things that I run and do all the time. I just didn't know that it was going to be so emotional and so beautiful along with it.
Well, it certainly,
Thank you.
certainly taught me a thing or two, and I learned a lot from the whole process. So I appreciate that, Mayor, for sure. Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to the Mayor for spending a little time with me on Council Wrap. And for now, that is a wrap. I'll see you next time.